Hello Internet, I'm Jackie Fox. Today I'm going to be reviewing every unit in an element so far, and today we're going to be doing water, so let's get started with Amnelis. Amnelis is going to be a caster. Her main job kind of relates to being a specialized time mage, but more in the realm of being an oracle. And it does some really interesting things that a lot of other things don't do, so I really wanted to take a specific look at her. First, she has automatic courage when her HP is above 70%. Keep that in mind. She can slow and sleep on a counter, which is interesting. Maybe not a great counter, but it is interesting. Damage distribution is the one that I would go for. It's a bit short range, but being able to deal damage and recover HP, again, is going to help get you back above this threshold in certain instances. She can break auto revive. She has a multi-hit move that can select up to 3 targets. This is going to be a lot like the really cool new move on Edward, since you probably have him as a free unit, the Stone Pillar Transmutation or Adamantine Pillar Transmutation, except you can select more targets. This is one of those attacks that's going to be able to hit multiple units, but still be a single target attack, which is going to help break through a lot of the AoE resistance meta that we are going to have coming. She can also break single target resistance as well. But one of the things that's most interesting for her, for flavor, I think, is her ability to not only give herself, which will help her get back above 70%, especially if she takes a lot of damage really quickly, because then she's going to proc courage, get her heal in, and come back up. But also she can put it on other people, which is pretty freaking cool. I don't think she's the only unit that can do this at this point, but it's pretty special that she can do it, and it really helps her quite a bit with getting this to work more consistently. And then let's see, we are also an arithmetician and a scholar, which are really good subjobs for her. She's just a really quite good all-around unit. I think Global underestimates her quite a bit, but she's quite well respected in, at least for a water unit. Water gets a lot of disrespect in general, and honestly, like, water as an all-in element is probably at its best on offense because it doesn't defend particularly well. But one of the big exceptions to that is going to be Perrine, especially on strike teams. Perrine, in some way, with her CT manipulation, reminds me of Bradley. She also has some pretty big moves. She is a lot more tanky than Bradley, though, I would say, and her being in the strike meta, especially with all the gifts that we are being given right now for strike with Full Metal Alchemist, she has a lot of rainbow synergies, and she's going to be one of the first really strong rainbow team, and probably like the best unit on the rainbow team, even better than Edward, which is a newer unit. She's just really good. I like her quite a bit. Definitely the core of a strike team. She also, for a limited unit, she comes back quite a bit because she is a Warrior of the Crystal. Chunok is getting a 140 next week in a couple of days, really. Hell, probably by the time this video is out. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, no. Chunok already has a 140 at this point, and that is going to give him the Yuffie ability of guaranteed hit evasion. The problem is he's not a terribly evasive unit anyways, so unless you're really leaning into his evasion, it's hard to really get the full mileage out of that in the same way that Yuffie does. So it's not as cool on him, but it does make him notable as a potential water evasion unit, or the beginning of a modern water evasion team. Astrius is a frickin' beefcake. He's not necessarily a brawler per se, but he does have the ability to heal himself by doing damage off of one of his buffs, which is really beneficial and synergistic with him being able to do a lot of damage. Also, he has a courage buff that also helps him deal a lot more damage, so that can be a real 1-2 punch that can give him a lot of survivability, even though you wouldn't necessarily see it on paper. Celeste is probably one of the most amazing tanks in the game. She has the ability to AoE cancel magic skills that target her, which means that she can also defend allies against AoE attacks, which is really awesome. And just to add insult to injury, It also absorbs AP based on how much AP was used to cast the skill. This only works on reflectable skills, but most skills casted, especially the ones with a casting time, like your casters, so just your mages, those are more typically going to be reflectable. So like Kefka upcoming is going to be pretty much an entirely reflectable kit. So he's going to fail really hard against Celeste. Because she is so good in this respect against magical units, you can actually afford to build her for really high defense and make her kind of a good all-around tank for various reasons. She's not necessarily a DPS, but she does like to come in and slap with Magic Burst, and sometimes that can really catch people off guard, in addition to breaking their AoE resistance and their magic, which is a pretty cool set of debuffs to be able to apply in a wide area of effect. With her 140, she's also going to get the ability to restore her own HP with attacks such as that, and I think that that's really going to increase the value of Magic Burst and her LB as well, which gives her pretty across the board, like, you are regular Mashari-esque LB of all attack resistance is 15, which again goes to her being an all-around tank. Raychez is a magic swordswoman, magic katana wielder, and she's also a bit of an evasion unit. She has relatively good buffs, I would say, especially that she has banishing barrier through Blade Soul, which is the magic katana job, which gives her which allows her to stop the first 7,500 damage that would come her way, which is pretty great. She's also the Lightning Selection Quest unit, so she is relatively free, even if it's going to take you a little bit of time in your account to be able to unlock her fully. But don't worry too much about building those MR and lower units right off the bat, at least for Selection Quest. If you want to build them for PvE or PvP, there are certain units that I advise in other videos to build. But like trying to build your whole Selection Quest team right off the bat isn't a priority you should have, but eventually you'll be able to get around to getting her, and I think that that Zazan is going to be a big help for that. Okay, Farm is a ninja. She is a ninja that has a shuriken that can remove courage and re-raise. She's also quite an accurate unit. She's relatively evasive, and when she gets her 140, she, I believe, also gets sure hit evasion, and she's one of the first characters that I think is going to be, I mean, other than Yuffie, that's going to be pretty impactful for, because she's a pretty good all-around character. Like, she's relatively evasive, she's relatively accurate, she's just pretty lucky, and good unit in general. She also has, I think, good range by having Ranger, so pretty cool unit. I mean, also having good movement and jump as a ninja benefits her as a Ranger as well, because it allows her to get to the top of hills and really rain down hell on people. So, cool unit right there, and getting better into the future. Lara Croft, don't know when we're going to see this collaboration again, although I think it has rerun a second time, interestingly enough. Not true of most collaborations. And also, I think the collaboration I forget happened the most. She is kind of a mid-range gunner, brawler-y kind of deal. I believe she has some chaining to her, and she can be built to be really evasive as well, like surprisingly evasive, even as a one-of on a team. She doesn't necessarily need an evasion team built around her to be a good evasion unit in my experience, but she also fails pretty hard to guaranteed hit. But, you know, if you don't see her coming, she can be a really tough missile unit to play with, or to play against, rather. On paper and in manual, Aerith is a blessing of a unit. Specialized she's a specialized white mage, has really good heals. Her heals come with buffs, although they don't have necessarily the widest area of effect all the time. I think that got fixed into her 140. I don't know, I haven't played with her 140 all that much, because unfortunately, her AI is a bit of a mess in auto. She is absolutely a thinking person's unit, and she is definitely a excellent manual unit. I mean, with time mage, with heals, with all of that great support stuff, she's like the most powerful version of Phoebe you could imagine. And if you've seen my video about Phoebe's 140, I am a big fan of Phoebe. She is Phoebe, but cracketh out. But unfortunately, her AI does not benefit from having so many good choices. Summer Elsorel is secretly low-key, probably one of my favorite water units and one of the most underrated ones that I'm aware of. She's pretty accurate and she has a ton of guaranteed hit within her kit, especially on big area of effect moves. So she is probably the closest thing that water has to an anti-evasion sweeper. In addition to that, she has got Scholar main job, and they upgraded her Law of Geoabsorption to Law of Geoassimilation. That is very much my favorite Scholar move, so seeing it get an upgrade here to be even more powerful is just incredibly heartwarming. The unit that I think compares most to Summer Elsorel is probably more. Having Kodadama Wielder, she also has a lot of the same... I mean, Summer Elsorel is also a Kodadama Wielder, and that's where a good bit of her guaranteed hit comes from. Really, the big difference, Summer Elsorel and Moore would be practically the same unit if Moore wasn't geared towards Spirit and Summer Elsorel wasn't geared towards Defense, but also if... Moore's LB was also guaranteed hit, because their LBs are actually really similar as well. But she's an all-around good unit. She can be quite powerful, but not a unit that you're going to see a lot, not a unit that a lot of people build, and definitely a unit that is much more suited to anti-magic matchups. Tidus was at one time the most popular PvP unit in the game, and largely because he was the first really kind of busted free unit. I mean, busted for it free unit. And to this day, he is an excellent part of a water/chaining team for PvE, because he brings a lot of CT manipulation to the team, he brings a lot of chaining options to the team. One of his abilities is basically steal time on a damage move, so that's pretty great for PvE. He also has a 4-hit slash LB, which can be a really great finisher once you built up a great chain. He's pretty good in PvP as well, but he hasn't aged as well in this respect. So I think of him more as like a raid versus raid boss type unit, especially if you find a fire raid boss. Krace is a free water gunner. You really want to build her more for range because she is, as an MR unit, especially fragile as a gunner, and you really don't want to get her close to things, which kind of limits some of the things that she can do in her kit. She's also an aggressively single target unit, which I think is kind of bad for her because she doesn't do a lot of damage. She doesn't have an incredible range. So the fact that she can only hit one person at a time, really, like, the clock on Krace taking out an entire field is so much longer than the clock on them closing in on her and one-shotting her effectively. But hopefully she gets some sort of an upgrade in the future, because really I think she is the most lackluster permanently available free unit in the game right now, because I feel like Etra has finally gotten pretty good. Winter Victora, she is not a unit that I play with. I actually skip a lot of the winter units. I'm not going to have much to say about Winter Ramada either, but I have played against Winter Victoria quite a bit. She is, to my knowledge, pretty accurate as a ranged unit. She is a bow user, so she's going to benefit from elevation advantages over the enemy, and she's really going to be able to hit you from quite a distance and relatively reliably. And if I remember, at least compared to someone like Krace, who I just mentioned, she's going to be a bit beefier when somebody finally closes in on her. Winter Ramada is... Wait, hold on. What is Winter Ramada? A soldier. Okay, so she's a great sword user. Well, I don't think she's gonna be a Drain Force unit. See what kind of HP she has. At 112, that base HP is not good. So even if she did have Drain Force, it wouldn't be all that great. These are pretty... She does. Not great, though. These are pretty poor sub-jobs. And she didn't get any of the healing stuff off of Monk, which would be interesting. She does get a one-hit shield on her LB, which is pretty cool. But no, I just, yeah, there's a reason I didn't pay much attention to this unit, I think is my conclusion there. Just really outdated sub-jobs, unfortunately, and main job too. Glaciella is actually pretty cool. She is a Pierce unit. She also has some pretty good chaining abilities for PvE content. Her Leap Slash has gotten pretty effective. And Stunning Thrust now has guaranteed hit. It's not quite as big as Energy Blaster on Kilfei, which would hit another row, but hitting 6 panels is pretty good. Really, you want to be able to hit a number of panels with your guaranteed hit. And also, just to add insult to injury for the evasion units, the guaranteed hit also means that this is definitely applying stun. Well, you know, 50% chance to apply stun, but so not definitely. But if this applies stun, when a unit is stunned, they cannot evade. So not only does this give her guaranteed hit now, it gives her quite a good potential to get guaranteed hit on her or someone else's or multiple someone else's next attacks. So that is even better as an ability upgrade than I originally thought it would be. So she's looking pretty good into 140, but I think that she almost definitively shines better in like a chaining team in PvE than she probably does in PvP. Same feeling for Ildira. If you can keep her on the back row in PvP, she is a pretty good healer and support, and her LB allows her to raise like basically AoE quicken, which is really great and was even more amazing when it first came out because it was pretty early on in the game. There was like a whole meta where the most OP thing you could do was use Rob's armor, which was another way of getting kind of an AoE quicken effect, and her LB to basically just take turn after turn after turn after turn and just do stupid stuff. She's nowhere near as broken anymore, but if you heard me talk about the arithmetician job in general, her being a main job arithmetician, it shouldn't surprise you that she has really good range, really good crowd control abilities, especially in PvE, which is going to be less demanding. And this is also going to give her a lot more opportunities to heal. Her AI is a bit different in how it interacts with arithmetician than most other arithmetician units that I've talked about in the series so far, because she's a bit more of a support first. So she's going to be more inclined to use her healing moves than Helena and than what was the other one? Queen Mashuri. Terrell is a knight. Unfortunately, the knight job isn't great. It has incredibly close range breaks and is otherwise kind of beefy. Also has slash attack resistance penetration on a passive pretty reliably, which is cool. But like, if that's the main thing you do, you're pretty unfortunate. Actually, it's kind of hard to say that he's also a permanently available free unit, and I think he's permanently available. He actually, I might have to eat my words and say that he's worse than Krace. Miranda is definitely making a comeback. So she has Paladin, which gives her access to a good fixed heal, gives her access to Courage. She has her Red Mage main, which means that she can break Spirit with her chaining move that also removes re-raise. She can jamming thrust from quite a distance. Her jamming thrust, I believe, has extra range and guaranteed hit. In addition to raising her spirit, just a great all-around move. And, you know, a lot of this stuff makes her just an awesome unit. And if that wasn't good enough, if there needed to be icing on the cake, she also has Time Mage as a sub, which can also put her as a quicken unit, which is real freaking helpful. Ramada, there was a brief time, like right after Clairvoyant Astrologer, the Ramada's signature vision card came out. By the way, one of my favorite vision cards of all time, still to this day, really my favorite vision card. It has some bonus effects for Ramada that make her somewhat playable, because she used to be potentially against magic, kind of like her sister, more pretty good anti-magic unit, and had a kind of some bursty damage on her, especially with support from that card. But she just hasn't kept up quite as well. Let's see if she has a 140 yet. She does, yeah, that's right, because I keep passing up on it on my water account, as I'm just like, I don't think that you're a unit that I really want to invest in. I mean, Dreadspear Dive does a lot. Now it reduces a healing power by quite a bit. That's something. I don't know. I'm just not sure that she's worth investing in. There was a time when I would have said that she was one of the best non-free water MR units. Well, you know what? She's still better than these two. I'll say that. I like her better than either of these, but not by a lot. I wouldn't prioritize any of them. I gotta level with you guys. Severo and Uni. I mean, okay, so he's a black mage. I believe he has like some green mage shenanigans that he can do too. I've been more and more impressed by lower rarity green mages and their support capabilities. I also believe that he has a pretty powerful version of courage. Uni, I don't know nearly as much about because, to be honest, I haven't played very much with either of these units. So I'm going to skip on to Zazan, who is the lowest rarity unit in the game in the normal pool. Actually, he isn't in the normal pool, but there's definitely lots of ways to get him through the regular summon, or whatever that's called. Normal summon, daily summon, the one that's free 3 times a day. You can pick him up on that pretty reliably, and it doesn't take a lot of his shards to build him up either. He's a really easy unit to build. The hardest part is going to be getting bronze imbued fragments of thought for his transcendence. You need 5 of those, so save them. Use the rainbows to level them up. I know it feels wasteful, because you're thinking like, oh, he's the only unit that uses these, but yeah, you need to keep at least 5 for his reincarnation is all I'm saying, and otherwise you can only get those from video summons, so you gotta watch ads. But once you get this guy into 140, he becomes a walking HP stick, the likes we have only thus far seen with like Warrior of Light, and that's pretty impressive. Unlike his UR form, he doesn't get ridiculous amounts of survivability, but at the very least, non-chaining moves won't be able to take him down in one shot because he has more HP than the damage limit if you reincarnate him enough. He's also kind of a surprisingly effective all-around unit, and works on a variety of teams and is wickedly useful to have in cost-limited formats because often he makes a team that shouldn't work actually work. And I mean, look, I can't give a higher affirmation than that to the guy. So build Zazan if you can stand watching the ads, because he's going to be a pretty good unit, and he's also going to help you get Rayches, because I'm pretty sure that once you get like 15k HP on this guy, he's going to be coming into selection quests like an absolute wrecking ball. Like, I got more feelings for Zazan than I have for any of these 3 units here, right? And he's lower rarity. So that's quite a shout out for Zazan, but I did a bigger video on like some of the nuances of how Zazan tends to play, but like build him anyways, find out for yourself, or watch that video. I'm not going to stop you from watching my videos, but I am going to stop you from watching this video, and I'm going to say I'll see you in the next one. I'm thinking probably Wind. Let me know in the comments what you think about that, and I'll see you in the next one.